Hello everybody, welcome back to BareRose Garage. What do we got going on today? Well, I got goodies in here, as you can see. For one, I got the old hot rod standard. This was the standard in performance for many, many years. That's right, the Holley 4150. Over here on this side, I've got the new and improved Edelbrock VRS-4150. This is Edelbrock's new take on an old classic. Now, this carburetor though, it's not mine. This one actually belongs to cousin Mike over at Landon Custom Classics. I'll leave a little link down here below on what he's going to be doing with this. And he's got some good stuff coming up on out of box, slap on, bolt it on, send it, see what it's like. He'll be doing all the installation and some other good videos on this carburetor. But in the meantime, he dropped it off here for me at BareRose Garage so I could give you a good side-by-side from the old school to the new school and what is different between the two of them on the outside, because obviously I'm not going to take this apart or it'll blow the whole videos that cousin Mike's got planned for it. Like I said, he wants to do out of box, throw it on, bolt it up, and see how it's going to run at these high altitudes that we have here in Idaho. So, cut through the chase. I got another video I got a plug here for you, and I'll put a link to it either up here or down in the description. Andy Wood over at Unity Motorsports, very good friend and a great guy, great channel. He just did a tour of the Edelbrock facility, showing you how much care they actually take on assembling these things. And I'll tell you what, it is top notch, 100% great stuff. Go take a look at Andy Wood's video, Unity Motorsports, and you too will see where the quality is in these. I mean, it is over the top. Anyway, skip through all that. Great job on those videos, by the way. Let's just do a visual comparison of these two, the old classic and the new school. Okay, first thing you'll notice here is the Edelbrock, the vent tubes are flush. They're cut flush. Whereas on the old Holley 4150, they're angled over. I don't know, it's more than a 45, but you get the idea. They're angled over like that. Now the reason that they do that on these vent tubes here is so as the air is passing down through, kind of creates kind of a Venturi effect to make these float bowls vent very well. Now, under extremes and well, there's provisions made into the metering block and everything to stop it from happening, but it will, under certain conditions, cause the airflow to come across on this, and it'll actually suck fuel up out of here. And so Edelbrock just cut to the chase and did them flat. I don't know if it's much of a big deal or not. You take it for whatever you will. And I know a lot of guys that will take these and they'll cut them down flat to help prevent that. But other than that, pretty much the same. This 4150 over here, you can see it does have a choke on it. The VRS, it doesn't come with a choke. This is strictly a performance, warm weather carburetor. But, well, on these hot rods, how many of you are driving them in 20 below weather? The choke will make it start in cold weather. It makes it start really nice, but well, for the most part, these cars now, like I said, they're kind of a hobby, fun toy. They're not a daily driver through all weather conditions. So they went ahead and just did away with the choke on all VRS 4150s. I keep screwing that numbers up. Anyway, so it might be a little bit of a yeah, like I said, take it however you want to take it. Okay, so that's the first thing I noticed is no choke. The other one is a little bit harder to see. I'll see if I can get a good camera angle on them. But the VRS one is about an inch taller than this one, than the standard Holley. So if you're running a car that you don't want to cut the hood, say a Corvette or something, you might want to put that in your old noodle maker here. This one's going to be a little harder to get an air cleaner on it and still keep it all tucked up under the hood. It's pretty good. It's pretty substantial how much taller the whole carburetor is over the old 4150, Holley 4150. Okay, so you can take that as you will. Now the squirters. Oh yeah, the good stuff. Let's get into the hardcore good stuff. If you look down into them, I'll see if I can show them up here. This is the Holley. Of course, it's easy to tell because this is an old Holley and it's kind of grody. I haven't rebuilt it yet. The squirters up here on the Edelbrock set up high. You can see here, they set up higher into them. Now, looking at that visually, that is beautiful because as it squirts down and they're angled straight in there like that, it's going to get a lot of good atomization through there. And they're really, I love the texture that they put on, that kind of left it like it's been bead blasted. There's kind of a texture up here on top. Down below, down into the Venturis, into the main bodies themselves, it's high polished in there. Yeah, I don't know if you could see it in there, but it is really nice and polished. So what that does, as it's coned in like this and then goes down into the main throttle bodies. I'll just call it that. This video's for layman's anyway. The texture up here on the top part kind of gives a resistance kind of a little bit. Gets the air to tumbling. And then it's smooth and polished down below inside there. Like I said, I think you can get a good look at it. And it is, it's high polished. So you're getting a good low pressure down there while it's keeping it tumbling up here on the top a little. What it's doing is it's increasing the venturi. It's increasing the flow. Now Holleys do that too, but up here on the top, it's a lot shallower. On the Edelbrock, it's a lot taller, gives it more room in there. I'll bet you this thing atomizes like no tomorrow. Whereas the Holley, it's more steep. And in fact, like I said, I think you can get it on camera there. What I'm looking at is it steps down on the Holley. The Holley goes straight before it goes into the angles here that turn it back in. I gotta say, I like the Edelbrock a lot better. Yeah, the way it is, it's very shallow there on its straight down part before it goes into the cone down into the mains there. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, that's for the top. And like like on the Holley here, this one's an old one, but the newer versions, let's see. And that's something I'm noticing right away on here. On the Edelbrock, it's got sight glasses on the float bowls right here on both sides. And there's sight glass, not on the Holley. I got to turn it around because they're only on one side on this one. The newer ones, they're on both sides and they're sight glassed. This is an older one, but it's got the sight plugs right here. You take that screw out and then you fill as your float comes up and fills your float bowl here, when the fuel starts coming out, that's when you know you got your float adjusted right. And they both adjust identically. On the Edelbrock here, like on the newer Holley 4150s too, it's got glass there, so you don't have to pull the plug out and then run gas all over on your engine, which was always kind of a pain on these. But that's it. Makes adjusting the float, super simple. So you just adjust it until it comes right up to the even spot right there. You know you're good. On this one, you pull this plug out, you adjust the float in there to where it comes up and it starts to leak out just a little bit of gas on the bottom of the hole. Then you know you got it set, and then you lock it in. And like I said, they're both exactly the same. Makes it super simple to adjust your float that way, because on the old style Performer, in order to do any of that kind of work, you had to pull this top of the carburetor off and then get in there and bend the float. There's two floats on both sides here. On the Performer and the AVS2s, the float bowls are on the sides here. On the Holleys and the new VRS, you can see the float bowls are front and back. I got them set on the bench here showing you they're sideways. But anyway, to do any kind of changes to like adjusting your jets, all that stuff, with the standard Performer series, you got to take the whole top of the carburetor off. It's kind of a whole process. It's hard to get down inside to pull the jets. On a Holley they have a power valve. On these they don't. They have these metering rods right here that are controlled by springs. That's the only easy part on these Performers, AVS2s, the Carter versions of them. You undo these caps right here, roll it over, and then you wait until the springs just hold it down in there. Then if the springs are holding it up, you pull these out, you change the springs until when it's running on pulling vacuum, the vacuum is holding them straight down. Anyway, that's the only easy thing to adjust on a Performer, which is basically the power valve that's in both of these. Anyway, I just wanted to show you that for the difference between this one and standard Edelbrock design, Carter design, Rochester design. This is pretty much the standard for daily drivers. Anyway, I get that over here out of my hand. But that's the reason a lot of hot rodders like the Holley, because you don't have to take it clear apart. The metering blocks right here on the sides, same as the new VRS2, they're right here on the sides. All you got to do to adjust the jets on these is, well, number one, you drain out your float bowl, and then you pull these 4 bolts, and then you're into your metering block, which is where all your jets and stuff are. So you can actually tune these while it's still on the car, which makes it really nice for in the pits. You know, you take it to the drag strip and you're wanting to really dial it in, you can do it all right here. Whereas these guys, you pretty much got to have a workbench to do it to them. It makes it hard to do it on the fly. Anyway, that's enough of that. And the power valve, which is the same as those metering needles, all that, controlled by the springs, on a Holley and on the VRS, they're inside the float bolt on the metering block right here. You got to take them off and then you change them out. They're kind of spendy, but you can change the power valve, which is the same as on the Performer. It's those little springs that go in there. And so on these, that's a little harder. On the Edelbrock, that part is easier. Pick and choose whichever way you want to go with it. Anyway, that's the differences in it that I've seen so far. Other than that, let's dive into the meat and taters on them. Let's flip it over. Don't want to get this one dirty for cousin Mike. He just got it. Okay, let's look at the bottoms of it. Pretty much the same. I would have to say, just doing the rough rat rod way there, measuring to guide here. The Edelbrock is a little bit bigger. I can feel that just in my fingers there. How much bigger? I don't know. It's just, I can feel it that way. They're just a tad bigger on this one. Is it substantial? No, but anyway, you get the idea there. They're a tad bigger on this ones. Running my finger over the lip on this Holley here, there is a slight edge, and it's sharp, like most of the main bodies here are, or the base, yeah, base plate is. Sorry, my brains are working here. It is on a sharp edge. Come over here on the Edelbrock, smooth as silk. Oh, good Lord, that's it. That is just smooth as silk. Run my finger around the edge. That is wonderful. Now, one of the performance things you can do to these Holleys is you just take a little bit of emery cloth and you knock that little, it's like a casting, you know, like when you had your plastic models and that, and you pull your pieces and parts off, and there's that little bit of flash around that you got to trim off with a X-Acto knife, you know. That's what it is. There's just a slight little edge on there. And the way to correct that with the Holleys, you just take a little emery cloth and wipe over it, and you'll knock that edge right off. And you take that knife edge off. Like I said, it's pretty substantial. The Edelbrock, they already did it. They already did it for you. So you can skip that step and go right to hot rodding. Okay, let's see down the throat of this monster. Looking down inside, and I noticed this actually when Cousin Mike first pulled this out of the bag. On the Holley, down inside where your throttle blades come down, there is a definite ridge that, there we go. So when your throttle blades come back over, it seals it. On the Edelbrock, yeah, I got to get a clean finger now. It's minuscule. I mean, very minuscule. All I can feel in there is where come to think of it, I was just going to say it's where the base meets the main body. But on the Edelbrock, it's not. It's one piece. You see, there's no seam there. The base is all part of the main body, which I should have known better because I watched Andy's video on that, and it's pretty cool. On the Holley, though, this base is all separate. It's held together with those screws right there. On the Edelbrock, it's not. No screws there because that's all one piece. That's pretty cool. Anyway, where your throttle blades come and end, and that's that high polish right in there I was telling you about, and comes down to this part, it's a slight little lip. I mean, very, very slight where the throttle blades close. And that's what shuts your throttle off. For you the guys that are just, you know, getting into carburetors and stuff like that and wondering how the throttle all works and everything, you can see they're like dampeners on the stove, your throttle blades there. The farther that opens up, the more vacuum it creates, and as that vacuum happens, it's just like holding a shop vac, you know, and your engine is sucking here in a good way. The more it opens up, the more air comes down through here, and the more vacuum it creates and the more gas it's able to suck through. That's basically how a carburetor works. It's all done with manual valves through vacuum, and that's what your throttle blades do. Anyway, skip through that. The way these close up, I kind of like that. It's very clean and very smooth. Back over here on the Holley, the way it opens up, like I said, there's a definite ridge right there. It is kind of a dam for these throttle blades. When they close over, there's that deep little ledge that helps block it off. Restricts a little flow though. Possibly that's why this one is bigger here. I'll bet you that's the difference. These ones are straight through, whereas these have got that little bit of a ledge that opens, you know. Maybe that's what it is, I don't know. Anyway, both are a double pumper. Those are your accelerator pumps. These are your accelerator pumps. So it's got an accelerator pump on the secondaries, and it's got a accelerator pump on your primaries. That's the advantage of a double pumper. So it gives you that squirt of gas when you wham it open. and they do. These double pumpers, the old 4150 is one heck of a good carburetor, and what I'm seeing, Edelbrock took it to the next level. Anyway, we're looking at that. Then we'll look at the other one here. This is another one I noticed right off the bat. Even though these two are the exact same CFM, the Edelbrock is a good, I'd say 2 inches longer than the Holley is. So overall, the body-wise on the Edelbrock, it is bigger, substantially bigger. Not only in height, but in width, well, if you mount them right here, straight in line, in length, they're going to be a lot longer too. I don't have a tape measure right handy, but just doing the old eyeball, yeah, it's a good inch and a half maybe. Longer than the standard Holley. Those are some of the differences I'm seeing right offhand. Let's flip her over again. Make sure they're both going the right way so it's easier to... Oh, there's a good one. You noticed on the Holley, well, probably because it comes to the edge of the float bolt anyway, but your main vacuum that comes off of here, this is generally for power brakes because it's the big opening here and it's direct straight manifold vacuum, meaning it's getting total engine vacuum all the time and it's not interfered with the throttle blades. So the throttle blades are closed, this thing's still getting full volume vacuum. When the throttle blades are open, it's still getting good vacuum through here. On the Edelbrock, they got one here and they got one here, and they're a little longer, they're a little stretched out. That's probably because the Edelbrock is bigger all over. And another one, both the ported sides are right up here. All right, those are those are ported sides. Are up here on one side. On the Holley, they're here or here. I take that back. That one right there is another manifold vacuum one. This one right here is ported. So this one is controlled off of throttle. These ones are controlled off of the engine vacuum. The Edelbrock, a lot easier. They're right here in one area. The Holley, they're over here. That's for like vacuum advance and stuff like that. If you're running an emissions era car, you want that here on ported vacuum. That's the one that's controlled off of the throttle blades on how much vacuum goes to it. If it's not an emissions era car, then you want manifold vacuum, which is this one here, which is pulling vacuum all the time for your vacuum advance on your distributor. But there is a whole bunch more that goes into that, but I'm not going to get into it. The difference between ported and manifold vacuum on vacuum advance, that argument goes for days, and it all comes down to what you have and what you're trying to do with it. I'm not going to get into that on here. Anyway, so that's the underside, things that I can see different and the things that I like. Generally speaking, overall, I really like this VRS 4150. What Edelbrock has done is they've taken, in my opinion, strictly my opinion, they've taken all of the performance stuff that you can do to one of these 4150 double pumpers, and they've given it to you for an extremely affordable price in the VRS 4150. And it's already all been done for you. Even the little things, like I said, chafing that down, there is absolutely no flash there. Whereas on the Holley, there is a definite flash there. And for your Holley enthusiasts, this is a 1426. This is a 1986 Holley casting. That's when this one was made. Holley always puts their date codes. If it's got a choke horn, it's right here, right down below the model stamp, telling you what it is. The first number up on top tells you what the carburetor is, tells you all the jets and everything that it's supposed to have in it, all that tuning specs. The number down below is a date code. This one, yeah, looks like an 86. And I happen to know about this carburetor. We've had it rolling around in the shop for about that long. So I know it's not a 96 because it's been in the shop longer than 96. Anyway, and the reason we pulled it off, this thing come off of a running truck, but it kept loading up and pluttering out. It's because of our altitude here. So we pulled this one off and stuck a Edelbrock on it, and well, back in those days we stuck a Carter on it because a Carter was the same thing as an Edelbrock, and the guy was happy with it, and he let us have this to get rid of it. He hated this thing, so we've had it kicking around the shop forever. Needs rebuilt now, of course, but anyway, I'll get to rambling and bambling on that. That's some of the differences I have seen visually on the Edelbrock VRS. I'll tell you, hands down. Oh, another quick, easy one right there that I see. Like I said, I knew I'd be finding them all over the place on here. Your idle mixture screws. It's got the 4 corners, just like on the Holley, and I'm sure Holley's newer ones have got this too, but they're adjustment screws. I'm not turning them because, like I said, Cousin Mike wants to put this on his car and do a out-of-the-box run. They're chafed. It's got a grip on them, so you don't even need a screwdriver to adjust them. I would recommend it, but you can turn those by hand, and you can easily get to all 4 of them. The Holley, again, it's probably because it's a little smaller, not quite as wide. They're right here, right here, right here, and right here. You got to get in there with a little bitty screwdriver to adjust them on the 4 corners. Is it a big deal? Holley guys know it. So they carry that little itty bitty little magnetic pen screwdriver to adjust them anyway. So is it a big deal? Probably not. But Edelbrock does make them right there, nice and easy, and they put a grip on them so you can turn them and twist them and do whatever you got to do to get them to all come in even. The Holley, a little more work. And again, because this is an old one, the Holley's probably already fixed that, and on the newer ones, they probably got the exact same thing. So I'm probably just talking about something that's antiquated anyway, but that's what I do. Anyway, my opinion on them, It looks like a dadgum good carburetor. For the money especially. That VRS 4150 is only about 800 bucks out of the box. That's sent right straight to your door. You can't beat it for that. And where Cousin Mike got this from, another channel I got to give a big ol' shout out to, Riley's Rebuilds. She actually is a kind of a YouTube broker for them. And she gives great prices on them, and she rebuilds them for you too if you need it done a little later on. Great little gal. I can't do enough to support her, or you know, trying to get her name out there. She's great. Little gal, she's only, I think she's still in high school, or maybe she graduated last year. That's how young she is, and she is an expert on these things. That is cool. Anyway, go check out those 3 channels. Number 1, Cousin Mike over at Landon Custom Classics, for bringing this over by the shop so I can give you this quick little run through on them. And like I said, I know it's just visual. Me is just an old fart sitting out in the shop messing with these things. What I can see is different with them. And go check him out, Landon Custom Classics. Put his link down here. Andy Wood over at the Unity Motorsports, the Casper Keeper. Go check out his video on the assembly process of them things. I will tell you what, Victor Sr. and Jr. would be so daggone proud of how much care is actually taken in the assembly process of Edelbrock. I love Edelbrock. For me, and a driver, Edelbrock all the way. For all-out hardcore racing, we always went Holley. But now that Edelbrock has jumped up in the game and offering it for, like I said, 800 bucks for that carburetor, a Holley for the same kind of setup as you're getting out of the box there, you're over $1,000. So you can take that extra 200 bucks and throw it into something else, like maybe a tire. Or some other goodies to throw on the car to complete it and make it look great. Anyway, and get out there and keep the metal hot with it. And that's what matters, so we can all keep these old girls on the road where they belong. And when it comes to that extra 1-inch height, that just gives you the excuse for a hood scoop. Cut a hole in the hood and let her fly. And we'll catch you on the next one. In the meantime, get out there and get that metal hot.